Hi, my name is Amanda Webb, and this is my Change Innovation Project. The role that I play as a teacher in my district is not a role that involves attending meetings or going to any outside extra meetings. So when I was thinking about how I would plan my Change Innovation Project, I split it up into three different areas that I could show show off what I wanted to change and then move towards changing that. So as I did it, what I did was I came up with an infographic, and the infographic states all the different areas of the trends, challenges, and time to adoption. And so I would start the conversation with sharing the infographic. Then I would have 3 informal meetings on the trends, challenges, and the time to adoption. And after that, I would hold, with district help, I would hold a community meeting to start the implementation of these areas. Who is a part of the conversation? Initially, I would share my infographic with my superintendent, my principal, other district leaders, and the teachers. It's important to share that infographic so that they are aware of the different areas that we could work towards and change, and then move towards the next part of the conversation. As a teacher, I feel that having teacher buy-in is very, very important. So my next part of the conversation would be for informal meetings, and this would be for the teachers and administrations to promote buy-in and support. I need that teacher support so that we can move forward and bring it about to the community. After the informal meetings, I would hold a community meeting. This would be with the superintendent, district leaders, Board of Education, and community members. My district is very big on community, and it's important that everyone is getting an opportunity to hear and know what we are doing as a district. So it's also important to them that we've done our research. So I feel like keeping this part of the conversation at the end of the conversation helps us move forward in knowing what the different steps are that we're going to be taking, because once that community meeting comes along, they're going to be asking, well, what are we going to be doing for this? So saving that for last gives us time to plan and build all of those areas so that the discussion can become even better. What steps need to be taken? I said I need to gain interest from the district through the infographic and the different explanations that I would share. I need teacher buy-in through informal meeting, explaining and showing what can be done. And then I need Board of Education and community support for the implementation. And then finally, the funding of the resources and support of the programs. And who do I need on my team to drive change? The teachers. I think that is very important. If we want to start something new, we need to make sure that the teachers are really committed to what we are going to be doing. And if by not involving the teachers, they're not as likely to do it, but involving the teachers will help us move forward to where we need to be. Also, the administration, the technology department, the parents, the Board of Education, and then community members. When I did my infographic, I was able to take the different parts of the infographic to share. So here is the trend area of the infographic. As you can see, I split it up between the long-term trends with deeper learning. I explained what it is and then what we can do as a district. Midterm trends with measuring learning, what it is, and then what we can do as a district. And then finally the STEAM learning, what it is, and what we can do as a district to support this in our district, in our classrooms. I then chose one of the trends to kind of showcase, and here I have the STEAM learning showcase. STEAM learning, what can be done during that learning, or when it can be done, and then what it promotes in the classroom. I also have links connected to the infographic that can be clicked on and then taken to different articles about STEAM learning. once the infographic is shown, then we would move towards the informal meeting with teachers. So we would discuss the infographic. We would discuss problem and project-based learning, possibly using videos and other teacher experience. I know myself and many of the other teachers at my building aren't familiar with project-based learning. So giving them a background of what it is and what they can do in their classroom with it would help prepare them for what would be coming next. And then giving them a question to think about, a discussion question. If you're knowledgeable and confident in using these approaches. If not, what do we need to do? So that we know, like, let's get a plan in place now. If you're not aware, what do we need to do? What professional development needs to take place so that we can get where we want to be? And then when we have the community meetings, I would ask teachers to share their experiences with project and inquiry-based learning so that the community members and the board members can see why it is important for this to be added into our school and added into our district. And then the discussion questions: how does our learning community approach the challenge of deeper learning, and what kind of changes can we make to support the deeper learning for our students? Are there any strategies and tactics we can use to connect our instructional approaches to real-world needs and opportunities? So what can we do as a district? What can we add and connect to what the students will be doing in the future? Then we move on to the midterm trends, growing focus on measuring learning. In the informal meeting with the teachers, we would go over the infographic as well. We would discuss how data is collected within their classroom and how teachers use this current data mining technologies. Maybe the teachers aren't even familiar with data mining technologies that they could be using. So we would bring about some of those, give them an opportunity to see them, interact with them, see how it could work in the classroom. And then the question to think about: are we using available data mining and visualization technologies to inform our instructional decisions? And if we aren't, what can we do to change that, to encourage that? Then during the community meeting, we can discuss current data mining technologies being used within the classroom, the teacher experiences with measuring data. Again, I feel like adding the teacher portion in helps them understand what we're doing in the classroom and why this is important. And then the discussion questions. What assessments and learning measurements are we already using, and how can we keep them at pace with current expectations? Do we share that data to positively impact the student achievement? And what other additional technology supports could improve our evaluation and measurement capacity? And I feel like some of those questions can be answered just by talking about what we're already using and talking about the experiences straight from the teacher. Then for the short-term trends, the rise of STEAM learning. During the informal meeting, we would discuss STEAM on an infographic. We would talk to the teachers about what they've seen about STEAM or STEM activities and what they might be familiar with. We would talk about examples of when STEAM or STEM activities can occur and be done through teacher experiences and videos. So I'd ask teachers who've done them before to come in and talk about them and show what they've done and share what they've done. I would also give the teachers an opportunity to do a STEAM activity, even if it's not just a STEAM activity, maybe a STEM activity, so that they can see just a few things are needed sometimes to make this activity work. Maybe you can make it more involved, or maybe you could use less, but it's not something that is completely difficult for them to add to their day. And then the question to think about: do they know what it is? And are they prepared to support it? And if not, what can we do? What professional development, what can we do to help them get them there? And let's put a plan in place so that we're ready to do that once we can start the implementation. And then for the community meeting, I would bring those teachers in, share that teacher experience with STEAM learning, explain what it is, the importance of what it is, and how it has helped students and what it can do for students, and then discuss the questions. Where does the integration of STEAM fall in our list of instructional priorities? And what new or additional teaching and learning resources would we need to launch STEAM learning? So what else would we have to add in order to launch what we're trying to do? Then we will look at the challenges. So here's the infographic, the part of the infographic on the challenges. The first part is about the solvable challenges using digital literacy, what it is, and what can be done within the district to help with digital literacy. Then also the difficult challenges, the roles of the teachers, what it is, and what can be done. And then the innovation through leadership changes of the wicked challenges, what it is and what can be done. Then for this section, I pulled out digital literacy, and I just kind of talked about what can be, when it can be done in the classroom or how it's effective, and then what it promotes. And again, this infographic is used to start the conversation. It's to share with my superintendent so that he is aware of what things could be done and what changes. So then we can move forward to start looking more into those changes and what can be done. So then for the challenges, we move over to the improving digital literacy. So during the informal meeting, we would talk about the infographic on digital literacy. I have a survey or a quiz on digital literacy for the teachers to take so that they can understand the importance of why it's important to have this digital literacy, to know your digital footprint, to know what your audience is and everything that's happening in the digital world. And then the questions to think about. Today's students are digital natives. Do we really need to teach them core technology skills? And then what ways do you show digital literacy to your students? So having these questions can start the conversation with the teachers about what areas they do need to work on and what areas they are doing well with. And even just looking at the quiz or the survey, then they can see what things that they might not understand at first, and they realize, oh, I need to change what I'm doing to make sure that works. Then once we move over to the community meeting, we would talk about examples of what is currently being done to improve digital literacy, and then talk about the discussion questions. What programs are currently in place to build educators and students' digital literacy skills? And then are there programs we can adopt that would address our digital literacy teaching and learning needs? I think a lot of this is already, some of this is already being done in the higher grades, but then it's just a matter of bringing it down. Let's also talk about these things, what can be done in the elementary to make that work for the district. The difficult challenges are the rethinking the roles of the teachers. So during the informal meeting, I would talk to the teachers about what their current thoughts on their role as a teacher is. We would complete a survey on what resources are needed to change the roles of teachers and make sure that they really understand what that means, how they're moving from being the center of the teaching to moving to student-directed teaching. And then using the question, are we providing adequate professional learning opportunities for the teachers? Are we giving the teachers everything that they need? Are we just sending them out and giving them this technology, or are we actually giving them the opportunity and the learning that they need to use this in the correct way? During the community meeting, we would discuss the current roles of the teachers and where that should lead to, and then talk about what opportunities we're giving for the teachers. So I asked that question of the teachers, and then I also would ask it again of the community in the community meeting and with the Board of Education, so that they're also thinking, like, this is what the teachers think, and now this is how we're going about it. So what can we do to change that? Have our expectations of teachers' roles changed, and can we specifically define those new expectations? Are our professional development programs and investments aligned with our changing expectations? So yes, the roles are changing, but are we making sure that we are aligned with those changing roles to keep our teachers learning? The wicked challenge, sustaining innovation through leadership changes. For the informal meeting, again, I said that we would discuss the infographic and then also think about if there's a team of dedicated leaders and contributors to support the development and continuation of innovation. And then if there is or if there isn't, discuss what would be needed to create this team. Do we need several teams? Do we need one big team? What would be created to make sure that the innovation continues and is supported? For the community meeting, we would discuss the role of the technology team. We have a technology team in place, but what is their role? What are they really going for innovation, or are they just there to troubleshoot with problems? What other teams do we have in place that could support the innovative programs that are developed? And then more discussion questions. Have we taken the steps to ensure that our programs are a priority? And have we communicated the value and potential of our innovative programs? They're always so big on these innovative programs and making sure that we're doing them, but are we really looking back and going back and making sure that they are successful, or are we just changing into the next new thing? This is the infographic on focusing on the time to adoption areas. And for the 1 year or less, I have the Makerspace explaining what it is and what we can do. For the 2 to 3 years, analytics technology, what it is and what we can do. And then for 4 to 5 years, the Internet of Things, what it is and then what we can do. I also highlighted the Makerspace. I listed what can be done to create a Makerspace and what it promotes. And also the pictures have attachments of different articles that can be read to learn more about the Makerspace and what can be done within those spaces, and even how they can be created. So then once we would move forward to the informal meeting, I would discuss what a Makerspace is, discuss the infographic, and provide examples of Makerspaces used in other districts. So have people from other districts come in, watch videos about a Makerspace. Then I would create a Makerspace within the meeting area so the teachers are aware and can understand what little or what a lot amount of things it would take to create it. And then a question to think about. Are our teachers prepared to serve as facilitators and guides for Makerspace learning activities? I think this is important for the teachers to understand that they are just a facilitator and a guide. And if it would take training for them to understand that, and training for them to see their role as a facilitator and not as a trainer or a specific instructor in that area, then that is an avenue that would need to be presented or looked at. Then once we move to the community meeting, I would invite teachers to come and share their experiences with Makerspace. I'd give an explanation of a Makerspace, maybe even show a little bit of what a Makerspace could look like, what is needed to implement one, so that they're not thinking that we are asking for a lot of money and asking for a lot of resources, but just a few things could create a Makerspace, things that we need. And then the discussion questions. Can we incorporate this into our existing classroom, library, or other school facilities? Can we repurpose some areas that could be maker activities and learning? And then what kind of materials, equipment, and technologies would be needed? How can we plan for and budget for these investments? So having an idea before going into this community meeting can then help this discussion question move smoothly so that they understand what we were asking for and not just throwing the idea at them. For analytics technology, during the informal meeting, we would discuss how the data is used within the classrooms, and then talk about how student data is used, and then are we actually making effective use of the data that we're gathering? Are we really just gathering the data or actually using the data that we collect? And then during the community meeting, the teachers can come and explain on how data is used, and then examples of programs or tools the district could utilize to assist with data collection and analysis. So It's not just a matter of collecting that data, but we also need to know how to analyze it and then use it. So if there's a program that we could involve in the district that would help us get there, then we need to look at that. So then the discussion question again, are we making effective use of the data we currently gather? And do we have processes in place for sharing select data with the appropriate internal and external audiences? And then third, are there programs and tools that are already available that would support our data-driven improvement and innovation initiative? So if there's something already there, then let's look at it and try to use it. For the Internet of Things, during the informal meeting, we would discuss the familiarity with Internet of Things, maybe talk about what they might know from maybe their own homes or what they've seen in other schools, and then think about, are there specific needs we have in terms of facilities and equipment operations and maintenance that Internet of Things would support? The elementary that I currently teach in is a very old building, so I think for teachers that this area during this informal meeting would be something that they would bring up and say right away, well, we can't do that because of the facility that we're in. But we're in the process of trying to build a new building, so I think that in that way, they might see, oh, well, we can't do it for this building, but what can we do for the building that we will build in the future? So then moving towards the community meeting, we would discuss what could be added to the existing buildings and then what could be added to the new building in the future so that they are aware, yes, we understand that this might be not a realistic thing right now, but let's keep in mind what can be done for what's coming next. And then after the community meeting, this would be when we would begin to implement the new concepts. So we started with the infographic, trying to get the superintendent and the district thinking about these new ideas, talked to the teachers, got their buy-in. Now we've had the community meeting, we've talked to the Board of Education, we've talked to everybody that needs to be talked to. So let's begin implementing the new concepts. So some of the things that I said we would want to look into right away would be the STEAM or STEM learning, makerspace areas, data programs for compiling and analyzing data, and then professional development for the teachers. Where did they say they were really lacking on that professional development, and what could we give them to help them? And then finally, create teams for future implementation and planning. So let's put teams together so we can look at the other areas. The things listed above might be the things that we need to work on right now, but then eventually we need to look towards the other things that were listed. And that would be my Change Innovation program. Thank you.